Hello everyone! Today's episode will be unusual for me. We finished with folks from Dehancer contacted me and asked to review their film emulation plugin, but before we begin we need to answer two questions. What is film emulation? The emulation of film involves replicating film-specific characteristics on digital footage through post-processing using various tools. You can see a more detailed list on the screen. If digital image doesn't have all the above characteristics, then a reasonable question arises. How to emulate the film? Perhaps someone is ready to write the answer in the comments. You just need to apply built-in LUT from DaVinci. For example, codec 2383, and you're all set. At least I once thought that way myself, but it turned out to be much more complex. To achieve the most realistic film look of our digital image, we need to first analyze the real film, their characteristics and features. Only then, after selecting the film we want to recreate, we can emulate it. I will say right away that I don't consider myself as a professional colorist, so don't take this video as a direct instruction or guide of how to achieve film image. If you just begin your journey of film emulation process, then I recommend you to watch the video from channel Sir, where he quite simply explains and demonstrates how to get the film look in DaVinci Resolve by using built-in tools. According to its node structure, I needed to use as many as 12 nodes to get the film image. However, this method of work is quite complex and requires a lot of time and knowledge of various tools with which we can recreate film characteristics such as softness, grain, halation, vignette, dust, etc. And here we can see the main advantage of plugin like Dehancer. It combines all the necessary tools for emulating film image, and to use it we will only need one node. By the way, using my promo code you can get 10% discount when purchasing this plugin, and now it's time to see this plugin in action. For my projects, I usually use the following project settings: timeline color space DaVinci White Gamma Intermediate and output color space Rec 79 Gamma 2.4. And from the plugin usage guide, we see that the plugin natively supports several color formats and its output will always correspond to its input. For my workflow, I will add 4 nodes: trim, an intermediate node for additional correction between my primary correction and the plugin, color space transform node so we can work in DaVinci White color space, Dehancer, another color space transform node back to Rec 79 Gamma 2.4. For convenience of our work, let's scroll down and disable all tools. If you are using the plugin for the first time, it's worth checking and loading all available profiles. Regarding the quality of work, the plugin can operate in 2 modes, normal and high. The guide states that the normal mode increases the plugin's performance, while the high mode enables maximum processing quality, but it's important to understand that it may overload your system. Because I do test, I want to select the high mode and see how this plugin performs. In the top monitor, I also recommend you to use clipping indication. With it we can visually see the overclipping of dark or light areas in our image. Lastly, I would recommend collapsing all the tabs. Simply hover the mouse cursor over any of the tabs, hold down Alt on the keyboard and then click the left mouse button. I don't know about you, but for me it's much easier to work in this way when I can choose the tool that I need at the moment and can focus on it. After that, first thing we need to do is set up the input source. In my case, it's DaVinci White Gamma Intermediate. Working in a large color space gives us more flexibility in manipulating our image. Here's a clear example. If we use the Rec 79 color space as an input, our image has overexposed areas that we will need to correct. However, when switching to the DaVinci White Gamma color space, we don't observe this issue. Although our image output remains the same, Rec 79 color space at the end. Additionally, in the tab we can adjust the original image, exposure, temperature and tint. The fringe can be useful if you have flaws arising from using the halation. In the film developer we can adjust the contrast, gamma and saturation of the image. After we have dealt with basic correction, we can choose the type of film. According to information from Dehancer, only Kodak currently manufactures color film named Kodak Vision 3, and Dehancer provides all 4 profiles for simulating these films. At this stage, it's important to select the appropriate type of film based on the shooting conditions. In my case, it's Kodak Vision 3 200T, because we filmed this shot in a studio. Afterward, I want to jump to Print tab and choose the specific print film. Since at the beginning we tried to recreate the Kodak 2383 film look, it's objectively better to select it. My image gained a warm tint, which I can easily adjust by target white value. Additionally, I want to slightly reduce the contrast of the entire image at this stage. To impart a more analog appearance to our image, let's return to Film Compression tab and enable it. After activation, we observe on the waveform that our bright areas are compressed. However, I'd like to counter this effect using the impact slider to restore the details on faces. In the Expand tab, we can adjust the black and white points. I will leave this at these values, that gives me a nice contrast for entire image. With Color Head tool, we can tint our image. I particularly like the tinting function for dark, medium and bright areas of the image. This feature makes it easy to achieve the popular teal and orange look. Let's add a hint of blue in the shadows and warmth in the highlights, but I don't want to go too far, so let's set the impact parameter to 50. Another crucial parameter in simulating a film image is film grain. Here you can select presets based on film size and ISO, or customize the values. Choosing film type positive gives a softened grain compared to negative. Nice detail that custom settings retain the parameters of the previous selected preset. It means that I can choose preset and decrease the amount of grain to a level I find acceptable in custom mode. The next tab is halation, which we simulated using a compound node. As we tried to recreate 16mm film, I initially selected this preset and then fine-tuned the most suitable parameters in custom mode. Overall, I slightly reduced the intensity of the effect to minimize its impact on the hero's face, leaving a gentle red-orange glow around bright objects. The Bloom tab provides a similar effect to built-in glow effect. It generates a soft, diffused glow, and I will decrease its intensity to a level I find suitable. Finally, the Film Damage tool gives our image a more natural appearance, simulating the effect of various physical intervention of the film. In this case, I will stick with suggested 16mm film option. At the end, let's add vignette. In the Output tab, you can adjust the impact value to reduce the plugin's intensity on your image if needed. Let's compare two images. The first one recreated using various built-in tools, and the second one obtained using plugin from Dehancer. Write which image you prefer in the comments. I personally tend to lean towards the second image, as it appears more natural and realistic. In conclusion, I want to say that this plugin surprised me greatly. Yes, there are minor downsides, such as overloaded interface with all these open tabs and settings, but you can easily close it or disable at the beginning of your work. As for the emulating film look, the plugin has everything and even more when is necessary. This systematic workflow allows achieving an acceptable result even for a color correction enthusiast like me, not to mention how this tool can relieve itself in the hands of a professional colorist. That's all for today. Write your opinion in the comments, grab my 10% discount promo code for purchasing this plugin, and see you in the next video. Bye!